The death of Elizabeth of York, a Tudor tragedy. Elizabeth of York, a woman who embodied the fragile piece stitched together at the end of the Wars of the Roses, breathed her last within the imposing walls of the Tower of London. February 1503 found the Queen heavy with child, a time that had been filled with anticipation. Instead, a sense of foreboding hung heavy in the air, a premonition of the tragedy that would soon unfold. Despite the marriage of King Henry VII and Elizabeth of York being a political arrangement, there are records that indicate that both partners appear to have slowly fallen in love with each other. They went on to have 6 children that would survive into adulthood, but the Queen's life would end on the birth of their 7th child, Catherine. The Tower, once a symbol of royal power, now served as Elizabeth's confinement. Gone were the days of vibrant court life, replaced by the cold, unforgiving stone fortress. Here, amidst the ghosts of past monarchs and whispers of treachery, Elizabeth awaited the arrival of her child. A glimmer of hope flickered in the form of a new, luxuriously embroidered bed, its curtains adorned with clouds and roses, a symbol of both heavenly serenity and earthly beauty. On the 2nd of February, a daughter named Catherine entered the world, but the joy of childbirth was short-lived. The frail infant succumbed just days later, leaving a fresh wound upon the Queen's already weary heart. As if fate itself conspired against her, Elizabeth fell prey to a vicious postpartum infection. The once vibrant Queen, a symbol of unity and hope, faded with each passing day. The 11th of February dawned, a day etched in sorrow. Elizabeth of York, on her 37th birthday, succumbed to the relentless grip of illness. The news shattered the fragile peace of the court. Grief, raw and profound, engulfed the king and their children. Biographers recount the utter devastation that consumed Henry VII, a man known for his stoicism and political prowess. He was reduced to a state of despair. He retreated, seeking solace in solitude, a stark contrast to his usual composure. This outward display of vulnerability was a testament to the depth of Henry's love for Elizabeth. Court records reveal a further sign of his distress. After Elizabeth's death, the king became inexplicably ill himself. He refused the ministrations of doctors, seeking only the comfort of his mother. This unprecedented behaviour fueled anxieties within the court. A king who readily showed weakness and shunned medical attention was a recipe for instability. A newly discovered illuminated manuscript offers a poignant glimpse into the aftermath of Elizabeth's death. The image depicts a grief-stricken Henry, cloaked in mourning attire, receiving the book. Behind him stand his daughters Mary and Margaret, their faces veiled in black. In the foreground, a young Prince Henry, barely 11 years old, weeps inconsolably into the empty bed of his mother. The stark contrast between the king's despair and the innocent heartbreak of his son paints a vivid picture of the family's anguish. Henry, though devastated, explored the possibility of remarrying, seeking to solidify alliances through political unions. However, the specifications that he outlined for a potential bride eerily mirrored Elizabeth's qualities. Perhaps deep down, he knew he could never truly replace the woman that held his heart. Elizabeth's death marked a turning point. The Tower of London, forever tainted by tragedy, was abandoned as a royal residence. The tradition of royal births within its walls ceased to exist. Furthermore, Henry's reputation for frugality seemed to intensify after Elizabeth's passing. Some saw it as a symptom of his grief, while others viewed it as a further sign of his detachment from the world. The years that followed were marked by remembrance. Every year on the anniversary of Elizabeth's death, a requiem mass was sung, bells tolled, and 100 candles were lit in her honour. Her minstrels continued to perform at court, a bittersweet reminder of a life cut short. The Queen lay in state within the Tower's St. Peter and Vicula Chapel. Her ladies-in-waiting, their faces etched with grief, held a mournful vigil. The flickering candlelight cast an ethereal glow upon the casket, highlighting the stillness that had replaced the vibrancy of a young queen. The funeral procession was a grand affair, a public display of mourning for a beloved queen. The streets of London were lined with grieving subjects, their heads bowed as the sombre procession passed. The once joyous bells of Westminster Abbey now tolled a mournful peal, a sorrowful soundtrack to a life cut short. Elizabeth of York's final days within the Tower of London were a stark contrast to the life that she might have led. The death of the Queen not only plunged the royal family into mourning, but also marked a turning point in English history. Her legacy, however, lived on, in the grief-stricken heart of the King and the continued traditions honouring her memory. Elizabeth of York remained a powerful presence, even in death. Henry VII was buried with Elizabeth of York under their effigies in his Westminster Abbey chapel. Her tomb was opened in the 19th century, and the wood casing of her lead coffin was found to have been removed to create space for the interment of her great-great-grandson, James VI,